for us and for the audience, who's, the listeners. So I think it deserves actually a good introduction. First, a couple things about Messiaen. Messiaen considered himself, just as importantly, an ornithologist, a studier of birds. He traveled the world identifying species, bird watching, and notating bird songs. And a lot of bird song ends up in his music, and I'm absolutely positive you're going to hear a lot of it tonight. Messiaen also had something going on in his brain called synesthesia, which means that somewhere in there some wires crossed a little bit. When he heard sounds, mostly chords and musical notes, they translated into visual images, especially color, in his mind. And vice versa, when he imagined sort of colorful scenes, music and chords and sounds came very naturally along with it. So I think when you hear his musical language and how sort of exotic and incredible it is, you have to understand that there's a lot more going on in his mind when it comes to that. Most importantly, I think about Messiaen, he was a very devout Catholic, and he took his faith and his religion very, very seriously. As far as I know, about 98% of his music is very directly sort of settings of religious scenes or mystical visions or things from the Bible or just his own meditations. And this piece is most definitely one of those. He wrote this in 1941. In 1940, when the Nazis invaded France, Messiaen enlisted in the army, with like so many others, and it didn't take long for France to be occupied, and he was taken prisoner along with a host of other French and other European prisoners. He was sent to a camp in Germany, a POW camp, prisoner of war camp. While he was there, he met 3 other professional musicians in the camp, and they happened to play the violin, the cello, and the clarinet. Messiaen himself was a pianist and an organist. And so he set about conceiving music for them to play while they were there. And they were kind of unbelievably lucky. They had some support from some of the guards at this camp who were able to procure instruments from them, or for them, and allow them the time to do this kind of thing. So the first performance of what you're going to hear tonight was actually done in a prisoner of war camp in Nazi Germany. That's just a little something to think about. The subject matter of the piece is the apocalypse. And specifically, the way it is told in the book of Revelation at the end of the New Testament. The book of Revelation is a set of sort of mystical visions by St. John, and he describes in very graphic detail all of these catastrophic things that come with the end of the world and what happens at that point. Messiaen focuses on the end of time, the concept of what happens when our human idea of time ceases to exist, and we're all sort of reunited with divine time, which is sort of infinity. Which is sort of a very crazy thing to wrap your head around, especially in a musical sense. In the middle pages of your programs, we put all of Messiaen's notes about each movement and about the piece. And I thought I'd just read the first paragraph, because he puts it at the beginning of the parts and the beginning of the score. And it's worth, I think, it's worth hearing. This is from the book of Revelation. "And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot upon the earth. And the angel which I saw stand upon the sea and upon the earth lifted up his hand to heaven, and swore by him that liveth forever and ever, that there shall be time no longer. And in the days of the trumpet of the 7th angel, when it shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished." So the piece, then he writes, is dedicated to the angel who announces the end of time. The piece is in 8 movements, and quickly, just to get the trajectory of them, the first movement, we like to think of it as a kind of a meditation. He writes that it's bird calls. You hear the birds in the violin and the clarinet part, and you hear the haze of the trees and the heavens in the cello and the piano part, which are creating this very sort of blanket of sound. We like to think of that as Messiaen's way of sort of opening our ears up to his sound world. The second movement is about the angel. At the very opening of the second movement, you have this powerful music depicting this incredibly huge, terrifying angel and sort of what he signifies. In the middle of the second movement, it's almost like he presses pause on that image and he explores the details, in particular the rainbows. And when he describes the angel, he says he has like a halo of rainbows around his head. And in Messiaen's music, he'll write on certain chords, these are the drops of water within the rainbow. The third movement is a solo for the clarinet. It's called the Abyss of the Birds. And there's basically 2 kinds of music in that. There's the slow, sad music of the abyss, and then there's the joyful bird song that's the counterpart to that. The fourth movement is a little interlude, I guess the closest thing we have to normal sounding music in this piece. The fifth movement is called a louange. It's the first of 2 louanges, which means a kind of song of praise. It's like a prayer, and in this case it's a prayer to the eternity of Jesus. Messiaen attempts to capture that sense of eternity by writing in the score, you know, where most composers would write allegro, you know, play fast, or moderato for moderately. Messiaen writes infinitely slow and ecstatic. So these lines, the fifth movement is just for cello and piano. These lines are incredibly slow, and they sort of have this very meditative trajectory to them. The sixth movement is a dance for the 7 trumpets of the apocalypse. In it, the 4 of us play in complete unison the whole time. This very bizarre and almost chaotic dance of fury. The 7th movement is kind of the climax of the piece. It's called A Tangle of Rainbows for the Angel Who Announces the End of Time. In it, the music of the angel comes back, the really loud and powerful destructive music. The music of the rainbows is sort of swirling around it the whole time. And the way it builds, it has a way of sort of unraveling at the end in this really incredible and chaotic way. The 8th movement he added at the end. He wrote in his preface, he said, "Why would I put an 8th movement on such a holy piece when we all know that 7 is the holy number?" And he says, because 8 is what will happen on the other side of this event. And it's another louange dedicated to the human side of Jesus. In this case, it's the violin solo that takes on this infinitely slow trajectory. And in this case, the piano accompaniment is reduced just to simple heartbeats. And that's the way the piece finishes, up in this kind of space like this. So anyway, the piece is about 50 minutes of music. So we hope that you get something out of this, and I guess we'll see you on the other side. Yeah, if you don't mind holding your applause until the end, I think that would probably be appropriate.